You ever notice how she looks at him? That older man, the one who doesn't even try, the one who walks into the room with quiet confidence while everyone else is busy proving themselves. And you're left wondering, what does she see in him? He doesn't have the six-pack you're killing yourself for. He doesn't dress like some Instagram model, yet she's leaning closer, laughing at his words, completely drawn in. That feeling you get, confusion, frustration, maybe even jealousy, is exactly why I want you here right now. Because there's something most men your age were never told. Women aren't just falling for older men because of money or status. They're falling for something much deeper, something primal, something that you, as a younger man, can learn to harness if you have the courage to hear what I'm about to tell you. See, women crave security, but not the way you think, not just financial or physical security. I'm talking about emotional security. Older men often project stability. They radiate a calmness that says, I know who I am, and I don't need to chase you to validate me. That is magnetic. That's why the younger guy, trying to impress her with constant jokes, flashy outfits, or desperation for her approval, loses every time. She can smell uncertainty, and you can't hide it, because it seeps through every word you speak and every move you make. But here's the secret no one tells you. You don't have to wait to get older to have this effect. You can train yourself to embody that same presence right now. Imagine walking into a room and women turning their heads, not because of your age, not because of your bank account, but because of the way you carry yourself, the way you speak with deliberate calm, the way you don't need anyone's approval to feel whole. That is learnable. And when you master it, you'll stop chasing and start attracting. And here's the twist. Most men won't do this. They'll keep wasting years trying to impress, trying to prove, trying to beg for attention. But if you stay with me, I'm going to open your eyes to the psychological hacks younger men can use to flip this script and hold the same power older men naturally command. The choice is yours. Ignore this and keep losing, or pay attention and become unforgettable. Women aren't falling for older men because of some surface-level reason, like a few wrinkles, a deeper voice, or even a bigger wallet. Those are myths men cling to because it's easier than admitting the truth. The real reason is psychological. It's about frames. An older man has lived long enough to stop being reactive to every little thing. He doesn't argue to win validation. He doesn't chase every glance, and he doesn't crumble when a woman tests him. That unshakable frame tells her, if you leave, I'll still be fine. And that message, even unspoken, is intoxicating. You see, women are biologically wired to feel drawn to stability. Imagine her as a storm of emotions. One minute she feels deeply connected, the next she questions everything. That's not a flaw, it's part of her design. She's testing, unconsciously, to see if the man beside her can hold steady while she shifts. Most younger men fail this test because they're not grounded yet. They react with insecurity, anger, or neediness. But when she meets a man who stays calm, collected, and unbothered, she feels safe enough to let her guard down. And that safety is what turns attraction into obsession. Now here's where you, as a younger man, can flip the script. You don't need decades of life experience to build that frame. You need discipline. Discipline to stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. Discipline to pause instead of overreacting. Discipline to listen without jumping to prove your worth. Every time you hold your frame instead of losing it, you're signaling strength in the deepest way possible. Think about the last time you felt you had to over-explain, over-text, or prove something to a woman. Did it pull her closer, or did it push her away? The answer should tell you everything. Women aren't looking for the loudest man in the room. They're pulled toward the one who could sit in silence and still make her nervous in the best way. That's the hack younger men don't realize. Silence, presence, and composure are louder than any words you could say. Older men project it naturally, but you can learn to project it deliberately. And when you do, You stop being the boy she overlooks and start being the man she can't stop thinking about. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never want to hear. Women don't fall in love with looks. They fall in love with how they feel when they're around you. That's why you see her laughing with the older guy who doesn't even hit the gym, while ignoring the younger man who's built like a statue. Attraction isn't just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and deeply primal. The older man knows how to create a feeling of calm, mystery, and authority without trying too hard. That's what draws her in. Now let me break this down for you. Younger men often make the mistake of performing for women. They're constantly showing off, whether it's their body, their clothes, their car, or even how much they know. But here's the problem. Performance comes from insecurity. When you perform, you're silently telling her that her opinion has power over you. She senses that. She sees you bending yourself to win approval. And in her mind, she thinks, if he needs my validation this badly, how can he ever lead me? Older men, however, have already dropped the performance game. They don't need applause, and that makes them unpredictable. That unpredictability is powerful because women want to feel something real. They want a man who can create tension, who doesn't give everything away instantly, who makes her wonder where she stands with him. That's why she stays hooked, because her emotions are stirred, not spoon-fed. But here's the hack for you as a younger man. Start living with self-validation. Stop asking women to crown you as worthy. Validate yourself through your actions, your growth, and your discipline. When you know who you are and you walk into a room owning that, people feel it. You don't have to brag about your wins. You don't have to exaggerate your lifestyle. Your energy says it for you. And women pick up on energy faster than words. The moment you stop performing is the moment you start attracting. Because the man who doesn't need her approval is the man she desperately wants approval from. And once you flip that dynamic, you'll notice the difference immediately. Suddenly, she's chasing your attention, laughing harder at your smallest comment, leaning closer just to be in your presence. That's when you'll realize you never needed to compete with older men. You just needed to understand what they've already figured out. There's another reason women lean toward older men, and it's not the one you think. It's not just calmness or confidence, it's storytelling. Older men carry an aura of lived experience. When they speak, it feels like there's weight behind their words. They've seen things, been through things, and that history gives them depth. Women crave depth because it makes them feel like they're stepping into a richer world when they're with him. Compare that to the younger man who has little to say beyond surface-level jokes or bragging about his latest night out. She might laugh for a moment, but she won't stay. But here's what younger men miss. You don't have to be 50 years old to have depth. You don't need decades to collect wisdom. You need awareness. Awareness to observe life instead of rushing through it. Awareness to turn your pain into perspective instead of burying it. Awareness to listen to people's stories and actually absorb the lessons hidden in them. Women are drawn to men who can communicate with substance, not just empty words, but words that make her pause and think. Think about it. When was the last time you had a conversation with a woman that wasn't about impressing her, but about sharing something real? Not gossip, not showing off, but truth. That's the kind of interaction that sets you apart instantly. Because most men are afraid of silence, afraid of vulnerability, afraid of saying something that isn't cool. But depth doesn't come from trying to be cool. It comes from daring to be real. Older men radiate this because they've already stopped pretending. But if you, as a younger man, can start speaking with authenticity instead of performance, you'll hack the very psychology that makes women drawn to older men. She'll start associating you with maturity, even if you're years younger than she is. And once she sees you as the man who gives her something no one else does, substance, her attraction toward you skyrockets. So the next time you talk to her, don't rush to fill the silence. Don't reach for the easy line. Slow down. Share something meaningful, or let the silence speak for you. Women fall for the man who can hold both depth and mystery because it makes them feel like they're stepping into a story worth living. That's the secret. That's what you can use right now to shift the balance of power. Let's expose one of the biggest lies men believe, that women go for older men because of money. Yes, resources can matter, but it's not the money itself. It's what money represents: stability, direction, control over one's life. An older man often has these because he's had time to build them. But here's the truth that should light a fire in you. You don't need to wait until you're older or rich to embody that same energy. You just need to live with purpose. Purpose is the real currency of attraction. A man with purpose doesn't crumble when a woman pulls back. He doesn't obsess over her every move, because his life has a center of gravity stronger than her attention. Women feel that instantly. That's why she chooses the man who seems to be walking a path, rather than the one circling around her like a lost puppy. Ask yourself, when she looks at you, does she see a man building something, chasing something meaningful, moving toward a vision? Or does she see someone waiting for her to define his worth? The answer is the difference between attraction and rejection. Here's the psychological hack. Create purpose-driven habits that structure your day and sharpen your focus. Wake up with a mission, not just with a phone in your hand, scrolling for distractions. Invest in your skills, your body, your mind. Every hour you give to growth makes you less dependent on her validation. And paradoxically, that independence is what makes you magnetic. Think about the men women remember, the ones who leave a mark. They're not remembered for being desperate for love. They're remembered for having something burning inside them: ambition, passion, drive. That energy makes her want to be part of your story, rather than you begging to be part of hers. And here's the kicker. Women can sense when your life has no direction. They won't tell you directly, but they'll drift away, finding someone whose presence feels like momentum. Don't let that be you. Instead, let every step you take, every goal you pursue, every challenge you face shape you into the man who doesn't need her, but whom she desperately wants to be around. That's how you beat the older man at his own game. Purpose beats age every time. Let's talk about something women will never admit openly, but every man needs to understand. Women are drawn to emotional leadership. This is one of the hidden reasons they lean toward older men. Older men often know how to guide a woman's emotions without being controlled by them. They don't get swept away every time she's upset. They don't collapse under her moods, and they don't try to fight her storms with louder storms of their own. Instead, they ground her, and that grounding creates an irresistible pull. Most younger men, however, do the exact opposite. They argue, they overreact. They try to win the emotional battle, thinking logic alone will fix everything. But attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. When a woman sees that you can't handle her emotions, she loses trust. When she sees you matching her chaos with more chaos, she starts looking for someone else who can lead with calm authority. Here's the hack you need: emotional control. Not suppression, not pretending you don't feel. Control. Imagine she's throwing all her doubts, her tests, her moods at you. Most men would crack, lash out, or beg for things to calm down. The man who simply breathes, listens, and responds with steady composure becomes unforgettable. Because he just showed her something most men can't: strength under pressure. Think of it like this. When a storm hits, do you want to be the tree that gets uprooted or the mountain that doesn't move? Women crave the mountain. They want to feel like no matter what storm they bring, you won't break. That's not about being older. It's about mastering yourself. You can practice this today. Next time you feel triggered, instead of reacting instantly, pause. Instead of raising your voice, lower it. Instead of chasing her approval, sit back and let silence work for you. Every time you do this, you build the very frame that makes women look at you differently. They stop seeing you as a boy fighting for attention and start seeing you as a man who commands respect. And here's the truth. When you lead emotionally, she'll follow naturally. Not because you forced her, but because you became the anchor she didn't even realize she was searching for. That's what older men offer. And that's what you can offer right now if you master this one skill. Now let's go deeper into something men rarely talk about, but women feel immediately: energy. Older men often give off an energy of non-neediness. They don't orbit around her. They don't beg for attention. They don't crumble when she pulls back. Their energy says, "I'm already complete." That's intoxicating to a woman because most men she meets are silently asking her to complete them. And no matter how attractive you are, if your energy is needy, she feels it, and it kills attraction on the spot. Younger men usually fall into this trap without realizing it. They text too much. They overshare too soon. They make her the center of their universe before she's even chosen to be there. That's why she pulls away. Not because she wants games, but because neediness signals weakness. She doesn't want to be your oxygen. She wants to choose you because you're already breathing on your own. So here's the hack. Learn to generate your own fulfillment. Build your life in a way where she adds to it, not defines it. When you're pursuing your purpose, training your body, developing your mind, and surrounding yourself with high-value experiences, your energy changes. You're no longer waiting for her texts to feel alive. You're already alive. And paradoxically, that's when she starts chasing. Because women can feel when a man's attention is abundant but not desperate. Think about it. When you meet a man who's respected by others, busy building his life and not clinging to anyone's validation, you respect him more, don't you? Women feel the same, multiplied. They're drawn to men who don't need them, but who want them out of choice. That distinction changes everything. Older men often embody this because they've lived long enough to stop chasing validation. But you can learn this skill now. Practice holding back when your impulse is to overgive. Practice enjoying your life without waiting for her approval. Practice being the man who doesn't collapse into neediness the second she pulls away. Because here's the truth. The less you need her, the more she needs you. That's the paradox of attraction. If you master this energy, you'll notice women responding differently. They'll lean in, they'll chase harder, and they'll respect you more. Not because of your age, but because you radiate the rarest form of power a man can have: self-sufficiency. So here's the truth no one ever explained to you. Women don't fall for older men because of age, money, or status alone. They fall because of what those things represent: confidence, control, presence, purpose, emotional leadership, and self-sufficiency. These aren't gifts of age, they're skills. Skills that any younger man can develop if he's willing to stop chasing and start building. Imagine this. You walk into a room and she notices you instantly. Not because you're the loudest, not because you're trying the hardest, but because you're centered. Your energy says you don't need her. Your composure says you won't break. Your words carry depth, and your life radiates purpose. That's when she feels it. The same magnetic pull she usually feels toward older men, but this time it's toward you. And in that moment, you'll realize you've crossed over. You're no longer the boy hoping for attention. You're the man she can't stop thinking about. But here's the hard part. Most men won't do this. They'll hear these words, nod their head, and then go back to begging for validation, wasting years chasing what they'll never catch. And then there are the few, the ones who take this knowledge seriously, who start practicing discipline, who control their emotions, who build their purpose, who stop performing and start leading. Those men, they change their entire reality. The choice is in your hands right now. You can keep wondering why women fall for older men, or you can take the hacks I've just given you and apply them. You can start today. Slow your speech, hold your frame, build your purpose, stop performing, lead emotionally, and most importantly, stop needing her to complete you. The second you embody these, you won't just level the playing field, you'll tip it in your favor. Now I want to leave you with a question. And I want you to answer it in the comments. Which of these traits do you feel you need to work on the most? Confidence, emotional control, or purpose? Be honest, because clarity is the first step to growth. And if this message hit you hard, if you felt the truth in it, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this today. Because every man deserves to know the truth about attraction, and you just unlocked it.